The following is a paid political announcement.
Lifelong Democrat Diana Florence served for 25 years as a Manhattan prosecutor under DA Robert Morgenthau. She put criminals away, stood up for victims, and protected our streets. Now, Diana is challenging failed Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg as an independent because it's time for a DA who fights for our families, not criminals. That's why Diana has won the support of organized labor like the steam fitters, plumbers, and ironworkers, everyday New Yorkers who want a DA they can trust. Manhattan needs a DA who will do the job, prosecute crime. That's Diana Florence. Under Alvin Bragg, crime is up and prosecutions are down. Bragg doesn't prosecute crime. He plays partisan politics. Bragg failed to protect women and failed to protect workers. As a prosecutor, Diana Florence won groundbreaking convictions, fighting against corruption, domestic violence, wage left, and daily working conditions. She's always been a partner of unions, community groups, and to cops like us. For Manhattan District Attorney, vote for Diana Florence. Diana4DA.com. Paid for by Diana for Manhattan DA.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Tuesday, October 14th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Could see some rain this morning, clouds this afternoon, high 65. Tonight and overnight, clouds, low 58, and then Wednesday the sun reappears, high 68. If you're walking out the door with us right now, it's 55 and cloudy in Valley Stream out on Long Island, 54 and cloudy in Lebanon over in New Jersey, and it's 53 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios.
This is the Top 5 at 5.
Lots of your neighbors are in cleanup mode this morning. Tish James says she's ready to fight back. The New Jersey governor's race gets uglier by the day. Some sicko hit a kid in Brooklyn and kept on driving. Will Broadway really go dark? All right, let's get into it at 5:01. The wind and rain from the nor'easter is finally heading out along the Jersey Shore. There were concerns about beach erosion as the nor'easter churned up rough surf in Seabright, that's in Monmouth County, one of the many coastal communities that had flooding during high tide yesterday. But in places where it normally floods, the mayor says they did have to get some people who were trapped in their homes, but nothing major again. Others in that town took in the storm at the beach just watching the huge waves yesterday.
Definitely the waves are insane. Yeah, it's cool to watch. It's definitely cool to watch.
I looked up and it was going to be high tide, and I'm looking and it's just really windy. The waves are coming out really far. I've never seen the foam dispersed from the water before.
The mayor of Seabright, Brian Kelly, says homeowners kind of know the drill during these storms. Prepare for the flooding, move your cars, and if you can, move upstairs.
A storm like this, because it's a northeast wind, so what that does is it kind of traps the water in the river longer than natural, so it could honestly stick around for a couple hours. You know, it's harder for the water. It has nowhere to go, so the wind plays a big role in that.
Another coastal community that experienced flooding yesterday was Freeport out in Nassau County. Kind of a 1-2 punch there of wind and rain turned the waterfront shopping district, at least some of it, into a ghost town. And then other parts of Freeport flooded, started early yesterday morning.
It's crazy because where I was with my friend eating and just parked up talking. I was able to get there with no problem. An hour later, it's like this now.
Yeah. No traffic, so people speed up, and next thing you know, they can't control.
Yeah, those flood
slippery
waters kind of creep up on you. In Queens, there was, ponding, but conditions did not reach emergency levels. A high tide brought several inches of water to the streets by Beach 60th Station at Rockaway Beach yesterday.
Sandy was horrendous, and Irene was bad, but this one wasn't really that bad. Sandy was like a 12. That was off the charts.
Yeah, so today is a day to clean up the mess left behind just about everywhere. Even if you didn't have flooding, there's trees and branches that litter front lawns all across the tri-state this morning. 5:03. New York Attorney General Tish James striking a defiant tone last night. Her first public appearance since being indicted on federal fraud charges related to her purchase of a home in Virginia. The Democrat, she took the stage to thunderous applause at a Zohran Mamdani rally in Washington Heights last night. She warned of powerful voices trying to silence truth and punish dissent. Here she was last night.
We see powerful voices trying to silence truth and punish dissent, and yes, weaponize justice for political gain. I will not bow. I will not break. I will not bend. I will not capitulate. I will not give in. I will not give up.
You can hear the thunderous applause last night. Mamdani has been a vocal supporter of James, a longtime political nemesis of the president. On Friday, he joined with other Democrats in denouncing those federal charges. The city's former public advocate now faces what she calls a shameless act of political retribution by the White House. 5:04, a hit and run in Brooklyn last night ends with an 11-year-old boy in critical condition.
The boy was on a motorized scooter near Ocean Parkway and Avenue V in Gravesend just before 6 p.m. Monday when a black sedan going north on Ocean hit him. A 25-year-old man was hit by some debris. He's stable. Not clear what the boy's precise injuries are. Cops found the car abandoned about 4 blocks away with a shattered windshield and hood damage. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New York.
Out to Brooklyn, where a 58-year-old homeless man showed up at the 77th Police Precinct Station House on Utica Avenue early yesterday with blood on his hands, cuts on his body. He told police that he had killed a man and told them where to find the body. The man is in police custody right now. So far, no charges against him, but when they did go to look for the body that he described, they found it.
Only thing I know about him, that's where he sit at and stayed on the phone.
How do you feel hearing that?
I was shocked this morning. Still is, because I walk past him every morning when I go collect my bottles.
Yeah, that's a friend of the homeless man. Investigators found bloody footprints, a kitchen knife, scissors, all covered in blood at the scene. The victim lived in the building and died at the scene. He has not been identified. This homeless man, who knows the homeless man that's in custody, says he's surprised by what has taken place.
That's the best thing he could have did, because the police was going to catch him anyway. Out of all the fingerprints in that house?
Yeah, he said he was right to turn himself in. The relationship between the victim and the suspect, unclear. At least police haven't told us what they know. The motive, police haven't said what that is as well. The investigation is ongoing. 5:06, out to New Jersey. The deadline to register to vote in the Garden State is today.
And this as we get closer to Election Day in early November, as voters in the Garden State will decide who their next governor will be. The race is tight between Democrat Mikey Sherrill and Republican Jack Ciattarelli. All seats in the state legislature's General Assembly are also open. Early voting begins October 25th for New Jersey. Mail-in ballots for registered voters must be requested by October 28th. And polls will be open Election Day, November 4th, from 6 in the morning till 8 at night. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
WABC News Time 5:08. This may come as a surprise, but the demand for office space in the city is strong right now.
Cranes reports Deloitte, Salesforce, and Still We Work are taking up new office space. Tenants say they want space now, even with the election coming. But shares of SL Green and Vornado have underperformed even as their buildings fill up. Stock analysts say leasing is up, but profits are another story because financing costs are higher and expenses keep climbing for building owners too, affecting their stock outlooks. Joe Connolly, 77 WABC News.
The reaction continues to pour in on what was a historical day in the Middle East yesterday, both in Egypt and Israel. President Trump calling his Middle East peace plan the granddaddy of them all.
This took 3,000 years to get to this point. Can you believe it? And it's going to hold up, too. It's going to hold up.
That was the president yesterday, so he started his day, no doubt you know this already, but started his day in Israel speaking before the Israeli Knesset as those 20 Israeli hostages that were held in Gaza were set free. Then he addressed Arab and European leaders in Egypt in the second part of this peace process. More from the president yesterday.
This is an incredible day for the world, let alone the Middle East. This is the day that people across the region and around the world have been working, striving, hoping, and praying for.
The 20-point plan has so far led to that Gaza ceasefire, with Hamas releasing all of its living Israeli hostages and Israel starting to release the Palestinian prisoners. So the president says things can get back to sort of normal in Gaza and Israel.
Together we've achieved what everybody said was impossible. At long last, we have peace in the Middle East, and it's a very simple expression, peace in the Middle East, and we've heard it for many years, but nobody thought it could ever get there, and now we're there. After years of suffering and bloodshed, the war in Gaza is over. Humanitarian aid is now pouring in, including hundreds of truckloads of food, medical equipment, and other supplies.
And President Trump giving praise to Egypt, who's played a pretty central part in this peace process between Israel and Hamas.
Hamas respects this country, and they respect the leadership of Egypt. So you played a very important role. I appreciate it very much.
Okay, so that was the president yesterday talking about, again, what was a historical day for sure for him and for the Middle East. And then comments coming in from everywhere. So all three men running to become the next mayor of New York City were weighing in on the release of those hostages and prisoners in Gaza and Israel.
Republican Curtis Sliwa and independent Democrat Andrew Cuomo focused solely on the return of Israeli hostages. Cuomo calling it a moral moment. Sliwa said, "We pray these hostages can recover." Democratic nominee Zoran Mamdani showed sympathy to both sides, calling the Israeli reunions profoundly moving, but also including statements like, "We have watched as our tax dollars have funded a genocide," and that he looks forward to a future without occupation and apartheid. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New York.
And the rest of the world, of course, watching on as this all took place in the Middle East yesterday. Ukrainian President Zelensky welcoming all efforts for peace in Ukraine after he watched the newly brokered deal between Israel and Hamas.
Ukraine's leader shared a post on X where he wrote, "When peace is achieved for one part of the world, it brings more hope for peace in other regions where life is still under threat." President Trump and Zelensky discussed the war in Ukraine and sending long-range Tomahawk missiles on Sunday. I'm Michael Kastner.
And the Democrats have been mostly quiet about what had taken place in the Middle East over the last week or so. But you did have former President Biden yesterday praising President Trump for the ceasefire.
Mr. Biden posted on X that he commends the president and his team for their work in getting a renewed ceasefire deal over the finish line. He added that he's grateful the last 20 living hostages are finally reunited with their families, and for the civilians in Gaza who've experienced immeasurable loss. The former president closed by saying the Middle East is on a path to peace with the backing of the U.S. and the world, and he's hopeful that peace endures. I'm Jim Roop.
5:13. Let's bring it back home down to Texas. Texas Governor Greg Abbott backing the president's plan to send the state's National Guardsmen into Chicago. He's also slamming the governor of Illinois and his fellow Democrats for trying to block that effort.
They are more than happy having chaos in their communities.
Judges have blocked President Trump's plans to deploy the National Guard in Chicago. That was cheered by the governor of Illinois, who said there's no credible evidence of rebellion there. But Texas Governor Greg Abbott said that blocking the Guard's deployment by the governor will cause chaos.
The last thing they want to do is to push down that chaos and allow some National Guard soldier to come in and make the communities more safe. We have governors in this country who actually promote crime and chaos in their own communities.
From Texas to California, where the governor there has signed a bill that makes it easier for relatives to step in as a child's caregiver if their parents are deported. It was brought up by a state senator there who says it's vitally important.
We know what's been happening in our state over the past several months, where parents have been arrested and separated from their kids.
He says more than 1 million kids in California are being raised by at least one illegal immigrant parent. So the bill would ban daycare providers from collecting immigration information about a child or their parents.
This administration has had a policy of separating kids from families, including locking them in cages along the border. This bill empowers these at-risk families with options and tools to ensure that their children are protected from adverse immigration enforcement action.
And Governor Gavin Newsom signing off on that bill yesterday. 5:14, back down to Washington, where the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, says standards are back at the Department of War.
The Secretary of War's comment came in response to a move from the Texas Military Department to replace some of its National Guard troops deployed to Chicago with those who meet certain service-specific height, weight, and physical fitness standards. This after a photo of a group of guardsmen went viral showing seemingly heavy-set troops and prompting social media users to point out Hegseth's own military fitness standards. I'm Mark Mayfield.
All right, in a minute, we'll talk about the stalemate between Democrats and Republicans over the government shutdown. We'll get into that in a moment. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Good morning, Justin Ella.
Good morning to you, Noam Layden. Start here with recap of Monday Night Football, another doubleheader here, wrapping out Week 6 out in Atlanta. Falcons beat up on the Bills here, 24-14. Bit of a surprise result there. And out in Washington, the Bears over the Commanders, 25-24. Big last-second game-winning field goal for Chicago in that one. The Tennessee Titans also fired Brian Callahan yesterday, just 6 games into his second season as their head coach. Callahan finishes with a 4-19 record, including 1-5 this season with Cam Ward, the first pick of the 2025 draft, as the Titans starting quarterback. Senior offensive assistant Mike McCoy will take over as interim coach. McCoy previously was the head coach of the San Diego Chargers from 2013 to 2016. Head to the ice now in Elmont. The Islanders remained winless on the young season, falling to 0-3 with a 5-2 loss to the visiting Winnipeg Jets. Emil Heineman and Jean-Gabriel Pajot each scored, and Ilya Sorokin had 21 saves for the Isles, who went scoreless on 5 power plays. They've allowed 13 goals in 3 games to start the season. Up next for them, they'll host the Edmonton Oilers come Thursday night. In Columbus, Timo Meier and Dawson Mercer each scored in the final seconds of power plays to lift the Devils over the Blue Jackets 3-2, securing their second straight road win. Mercer added an empty netter with just under a minute left. Jake Allen stopped 23 shots over 2 periods in his season debut. He was replaced by Jacob Markstrom, who stopped 8 shots to start the third period. The team announced that Allen had cramping and would not return. Up next for the Devs, they'll host the Florida Panthers on Thursday. And tonight, 7 p.m., the Rangers are back in action at home at the Garden to welcome in the aforementioned Oilers. And again, that's a 7 p.m. puck drop. To the Diamond now in Toronto. The Mariners beat up on the Blue Jays 10-3 ALCS Game 2 there. Seattle now leads that series 2-0. Game 3 set for tomorrow night as the series heads to Seattle. And out in Milwaukee, the Dodgers, a close one against the Brewers, edging out a 2-1 victory there in NLCS Game 1. LA now leads that series 1-0. Game 2 set for tonight at 8:08 p.m. from Milwaukee. That is your sport.
So this is going to be an all-West Coast World Series, huh?
Well, now that you think about it, it might be. Yeah, you got Seattle up 2-0 now.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers are not going to lose this series against the Brewers. I can tell you that right now. So, you are more than likely. I mean, listen, it's a 7-game series. It's not impossible to come back from 2 games down.
Right.
So, we'll watch the Blue Jays closely here, but in the first 2 games of the series, they've been outmatched, outplayed, outmanaged. So, we shall see. But yeah, you're indeed right. Good observation there, Noam Layden. You're paying attention.
Because I knew that Seattle's on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. I think Los Angeles is on the West Coast
as well. He has studied the maps, everybody.
Yes.
All right? He knows not to go into Rafa. He studied the maps.
What are you talking about?
Like Kamala Harris.
Oh, okay.
So you studied the maps. You studied the maps. You know that Seattle's on the West Coast.
It
Good
is.
Job. All right. That's your sports. I got to get out of here. I'm just about finished with you. All right. Justin Alec on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:20. House Speaker Mike Johnson warning the current government shutdown could be one of the longest in history.
We will not allow the American people to be taken hostage over partisan demands.
There he was yesterday, a Monday news conference. The Republican says if Democrats keep up their obstruction, we're headed to even longer shutdown.
We're barreling toward one of the longest shutdowns in American history unless Democrats drop their partisan demands and pass a clean, no-strings-attached budget to reopen the government and pay our federal workers.
The Republicans says Democrats are to blame for creating the Obamacare subsidies, which expire at the end of December.
It was supposed to be related to COVID, and it's become a boondoggle. It's a subsidy for insurance companies. When you subsidize the healthcare system and you pay insurance companies more, the prices are increase. That's been the problem.
Yeah, Democrats don't agree with that. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries says Republicans cannot be trusted when it comes to protecting health care.
These are people who have now tried more than 70 different times over the last 15 years to repeal the Affordable Care Act.
The Senate has conducted, 7 votes now on Democratic and Republican plans for short-term funding, but they have all failed. So they'll be back for another effort that'll likely happen today.
This is a partisan Republican spending bill that many of us strongly objected to in March because it cut veterans' health care, cut nutritional assistance. We view this as a partisan Republican spending bill that continues the trajectory of gutting the health care of the American people.
Of course, caught in the middle in this argument between Democrats and Republicans are federal workers, some of them furloughed, including Charlie Davis, who says he wants lawmakers to reach an agreement so he can get back to work and collect a paycheck.
I am the primary source of income for my household. So to cut out 60% of our gross income is significant.
Yeah, and correspondent Monica Alba reports that hundreds of CDC scientists were told that they had been let go, but many of the firings were reversed a couple hours later.
An official familiar with the matter telling NBC it was due to a, quote, glitch in the system. The confusion coming as the president directed Defense Department officials to pay members of the military this week by using, quote, all available funds to ensure troops don't miss a paycheck. The president weighing in on his way to Israel.
We're ending some programs that we don't want. They happen to be Democrat-sponsored programs, but we're ending some programs that we never wanted.
Democrats slamming the move.
And then you had the people who were just regular old tourists who were in Washington, D.C. yesterday. Of course, it was a day off for Columbus Day, and some of them wanted to go to the museums and found out that some of them were closed.
We were disappointed. We had planned this trip a while ago, and we were really looking forward to experiencing Washington, D.C.
And that's all part of the government shutdown. The Senate is expected to vote again today on a measure to fund the government. There's no sign that it will pass. 523, Americans are forecast to cover 55% of costs associated with tariffs that have been implemented by the White House.
A Goldman Sachs analysis suggests American consumers will bear the major portion of the costs, as American businesses and foreign exporters will take on 22% and 18% of the costs, respectively. The Trump administration has imposed tariffs on trading partners around the world and claimed that foreign countries will pay the costs from the levies. However, data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics confirmed last month that consumer prices in August were up 2.9% relative to last August. I'm Jim Roop.
But even with that news, Amazon says it's going to hire 250,000 Americans ahead of the holidays.
Amazon is looking for full-time, part-time, and seasonal workers for its fulfillment and transportation teams. Employees can earn on average $23 per hour plus benefits. The company says new job opportunities are posted weekly from October through December. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
524, let's go down to Tennessee, where the investigation ongoing into the cause of last week's deadly explosion there. 16 killed when a blast ripped through the Accurate Energetic Systems plant. That's in Hickman County. Here's Governor Bill Lee, who toured the site, says the loss is staggering.
There will be investigations to see just what happened. I think it's early, right? We don't know what happened. No one knows what could have caused this or why it might have been caused, and that's exactly what's happening here on the ground today, is to get an understanding really of what's happened.
The facility manufactures military explosives. The ATF among the agencies looking for a cause of that explosion, which still remains unknown today.
That's the name of our 16 souls that we're still trying to take care of and their families.
Yeah, and they just started to identify those 16 yesterday.
As we stand up there, we start looking out across everyone that's in the room. My neighbor, her husband, is in one of these victims. One of my best friends.
Yeah, it's a small town where everybody knows each other. 525, trial resumes this morning for 3 former San Antonio, Texas police officers charged in the shooting death of a woman who was having an emotional breakdown. Much of the testimony so far has been about the giant hammer that Melissa Perez was holding when she charged at cops on that day.
Something like that, in your training and experience, would it have the ability to inflict serious bodily injury on someone?
Yes.
Could it even kill them?
Attorneys for the officers say they've been trying to mount a case for self-defense. Prosecutors, though, say that not a single officer on the scene considered obtaining a warrant to enter the home.
If I took this and swung it on somebody's head like this, even if I'm, say, 5'1", I could very easily kill them, right? Right.
Police chief at the time said the shooting violated both training and policy. 5:26, a new study published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine says your walking pace does matter.
The research found that walking at an average or normal speed of 2 to 3 miles an hour was linked to a 15% lower risk of type 2 diabetes, and a brisk and striding speed doubled that percentage. Studies have also found that walking 15 minutes a day, 5 days a week, helps boost immunity and lessens cravings for sweets. Recent research found that walking 7,000 steps a day lowers the chance of heart disease by more than half, and walking after eating can help reduce heart disease risk, regulate blood glucose levels, and improve sleep quality. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yep, that's me. Good morning. It is Tuesday, October 14th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Rain this morning, clouds this afternoon, high 65. Tonight and overnight, cloudy, low 58. And then Wednesday, the sun reappears, sun and clouds, high 68. If you're walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are. 55 cloudy in Valley Stream out on Long Island. It's 54 and cloudy in Lebanon over in New Jersey. And it's 53 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios. WABC News Time 5:39 out to New Jersey, where the race for governor, oh my God, it's so ugly. On some level, it's completely entertaining, and on another level, you're like, just grow up already. But in the race for New Jersey governor, you have Democrat Mikey Sherrill refusing to back down from the claims that Republican Jack Ciattarelli was complicit with the opioid companies that led to deaths of New Jersey residents. She first accused Ciattarelli during the final debate last Wednesday. The next day, you'll remember Ciattarelli threatened to file a defamation lawsuit against her. Now, that lawsuit so far, it hasn't been filed. So yesterday, Sherrill doubled down on her claims, accusing Ciattarelli of profiting from the opioid crisis. She brought in colleagues, drug counselors, those directly impacted by opioid abuse, to talk about Ciattarelli's publishing business and its connection to big pharmaceutical companies. Here was Sherrill yesterday.
I'm dumbfounded that this perennial candidate, who has run now for 3 elections saying that he's a small businessman, the minute we start to talk about that small business, he wants to shut it. He wants his lawyers to shut it down.
Sherrill claims Ciattarelli's business made millions printing articles that downplayed opioid addiction and developed an app to find doctors who could prescribe opioids. Her congressional colleague, Congressman Frank Pallone, he took part in the attack yesterday as well.
Big corporations and pharma made billions. Jack and his company got paid millions, and New Jerseyans got hooked.
And this press conference got even uglier. Howard Benson, whose brother became addicted to opioids and died, holds everyone from big pharma to those who push the pills accountable for hurting families. He pointed his finger at Ciattarelli as well.
Admit your responsibility and move forward and come up with coherent ideas to help people.
But Ciattarelli, who was campaigning South Jersey yesterday, releasing a statement saying Sherrill should apologize for her slanderous comments, adding that he created an online tool which allowed a small group of chronic pain sufferers to educate themselves on treatment options so they could better advocate for their own health care choices. 541. Last night it was New York Attorney General Tish James at a Zohran Mamdani rally, her first public appearance since being indicted by the Department of Justice she took the stage. She was indicted, I should point out, for mortgage fraud on a home in Virginia. She took the stage last night to what was pretty thunderous applause.
And I will not bow. I will not break. I will not bend. I will not capitulate. I will not give in. I will not give up.
The event was a major Get Out the Vote rally attended by thousands of Mamdani supporters and volunteers. While James never mentioned the president by name or the indictment, she alluded to it with a remark of, "I have no fear of the man."
You see, I know what it feels like to be attacked for just doing your job. But I also know what it feels like to overcome adversity atrocity.
James is currently facing charges of bank fraud, making false statements to a financial institution. While we're out on the campaign trail, one person has been strangely quiet about the release of the hostages here in the city.
This is the day that people across the region and around the world have been working, striving, hoping, and praying for.
Former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo running as an independent for New York City mayor and GOP candidate Curtis Sliwa are celebrating the release of the 20 living hostages as a critical step toward peace in the region. Cuomo calling it a moral moment and Sliwa saying, "We pray these hostages can recover." But there has been silence from Mamdani. I'm Lisa Ritchie, 77 WABC News.
Now I should give an update. Mamdani absolutely made a comment last night saying that he was moved by the reunions of hostage families and their loved ones yesterday in Israel, but he also talked about what he called the genocide in Gaza. Meanwhile, many Jewish Americans in the city stayed up all night to watch the emotional release of those hostages on live TV. And at the Upper West Side JCC, New Yorkers cheered and watched on as a montage of some of the reunions took place.
I stayed up until 4 a.m. I saw that the hostages were moved from Hamas captivity to the Red Cross. I woke up at 6 a.m., 7 a.m. to just see the reunions with the families. These 24 hours are the first time that so many of Jews around the world, Israelis and allies, have been able to breathe.
Yeah, so yesterday, some of those posters of the hostages that have been, especially on the Upper West Side, some of them taken down. Sometimes people just wrote the word "our home now" under those posters. So just a mix of emotions as we watched it all play out in the Middle East yesterday.
And we have to keep in mind there are still 28 hostages remains that are held in Gaza. We expect 4 to be released soon.
And people watching the events of yesterday, from the president speaking before the Knesset in Israel, the hostages being released, and then the president going to Egypt for further negotiations, say there is a lot that has to be done, but a lot was done yesterday.
Will not erase or ease the pain for the families of the thousands of Israelis who lost their lives from October 7, 2023 up until now. It will not ease or erase the pain for the grieving families of the tens of thousands of Palestinians who lost their lives. The only way forward is coexistence.
The president yesterday meeting with leaders from around the world, saying that now the difficult part begins, the disarmament of Hamas in Gaza, and then the plan for Gaza, who will govern it and who will rebuild it. That's the tough part that continues in the coming days. All right, 5:45. Let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, and here's Justin Allen.
Thank you, Noam Layden. Start with a Monday Night Football recap. Another doubleheader last night, wrapping out Week 6 out in Atlanta. The Falcons beat the Bills 24-14, and your final from Washington was the Bears over the Commanders 25-24. And also out of the NFL yesterday, the Tennessee Titans fired Brian Callahan just 6 games into his second season as their head coach. Callahan finishes with a 4-19 record, including 1-5 this season with Cam Ward, the first pick in the 2025 draft, as the Titans starting quarterback. Senior offensive assistant Mike McCoy will take over as interim coach. McCoy previously was the head coach of the San Diego Chargers from 2013 to 2016. To the ice out in Elmont, the Islanders remained winless on the young season, falling to 0-3 with a 5-2 loss to the visiting Winnipeg Jets. Emil Heineman and Jean-Gabriel Pageau each scored, and Ilya Sorokin had 21 saves for the Islanders, who went scoreless on 5 power plays. They've allowed 13 goals in 3 games to start the season. Up next for them, they'll host the Edmonton Oilers come Thursday night. Out in Columbus, Timo Meier and Dawson Mercer each scored in the final seconds of power plays to lift the Devils over the Blue Jackets 3-2, securing their second straight road win. Mercer added an empty netter with just under a minute left. Jake Allen stopped 23 shots over 2 periods in his season debut. He was replaced by Jacob Markstrom, who stopped 8 shots to start the third period. The team announced that Allen had cramping and would not return. Up next for the Devs, they'll host the Florida Panthers on Thursday. And tonight, it's the Rangers returning to action at home at Madison Square Garden. They got a 7 p.m. puck drop against those aforementioned Oilers. Head to the Diamond here out in Toronto. Mariners beat the Blue Jays 10-3 in the ALCS Game 2 there. Now Seattle leads that series commandingly 2-0. Game 3 set for tomorrow night as the series heads to Seattle. And out in Milwaukee, The NLCS got underway in the form of a 2-1 Dodgers win over the Brewers. LA now leads that series 1-0. Game 2 set for tonight at 8:08 p.m. from Milwaukee. That is your Sports Gnome, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:48. A man recovering after what appears to be just a random slashing near a subway station here in Manhattan.
The 27-year-old man was just walking up out of the East Broadway station on the Lower East Side around 7:40 Monday morning. He was standing near Canal and Essex Streets when a man in a blue jacket approached and slashed him in the face. That man, thought to be between 20 and 30, ran off. The victim is stable. No arrests. An investigation is underway. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New York.
Out to Brooklyn, where an 11-year-old boy is in critical condition this morning after a hit and run last night in Gravesend. Police say a black Acura sedan hit the boy. This was Ocean Parkway at about 6 o'clock last night, then fled the scene of the crash. The car was found abandoned about 4 blocks away on Ocean Parkway. Neighbors say the people drive too fast on these streets.
You have tons of scooters, people crossing red lights all the time through the center lane. NYPD is stuck with doing other stuff, I guess, because they're not on the street.
EMS took that boy to Maimonides Medical Center, where he's listed in critical condition.
No, it doesn't surprise me. Ocean Parkway is not really patrolled like it should be. If they had 3-4 units on this road like they used to have in the 80s and 90s, you'd clean up the street pretty quickly.
Now, there might be something to what he said. According to police data, there have been 5 traffic fatalities in this precinct this year. Around this time last year, 7 people had been killed on the roadways. 5:50. The Broadway League still negotiating with the unions representing actors, stage managers, and musicians, but a strike does remain on the table today. Musicians Local 802, they voted yesterday 98% in support of authorizing a strike if it comes to that, after the most recent contract expired at the end of August. And the Actors Equity Association, which represents actors and stage managers, saw its last deal expire at the end of September. So the key issue in all of these Broadway negotiations is contributions to health care plans. Howard Sherman, he's a contributor to the Stage, the website The Stage, and he says the two unions are negotiating separately, but their top issues have some major points in common, including those health care costs.
Somewhere in the neighborhood of 80% of all shows fail financially. However, those shows are built on people, and those people need employment terms that allow them to live fair lives.
Now, the Broadway League releasing a statement to us yesterday. They say good faith negotiations happen at the bargaining table, not in the press. They say they value their musicians, are committed to working in good faith to get a fair contract done. A mediator will attend a session for the actors, stage managers, and the Broadway League. This will take place on October 17th, so in 3 days.
The producers want the shows to go on, and the actors and the musicians want the shows to go on. I don't think people should be in a panic.
Yeah, tourists that were in Times Square yesterday waiting in the TKTS line to get tickets to see a show worried that a strike might happen.
Most definitely would affect me coming to the city. That's why we come.
So totally understand that they would need to do that, but a long strike would be unfortunate.
Now, most shows went dark for 19 days during the most recent stagehand strike. That was back in 2007. Broadway musicians went on strike for 5 days back in 2003. 5:52, statues of Christopher Columbus are getting a new life in the city.
5 years ago, Christopher Columbus was enemy number one. More than 30 Columbus monuments were toppled or taken down. At times, there was even a police escort at the Columbus statue in Central Park. Now, according to the New York Times, some are being restored and finding new, less public homes. Some of the statues have found new homes at Italian-American social clubs and even outside the Skyland Stadium just outside Sparta in Augusta, New Jersey. Many of the statues were revived with the help of Italian-American groups. Lisa G., 77 WABC News.
You know what was kind of a bummer yesterday is the weather ended up not being so terrible. They definitely could have done the parade, but you don't know that ahead of time. If the forecast says it's going to be terrible and high winds and heavy rain. You have to follow what the forecasters say. But when I left work yesterday, it wasn't perfect, but it would have been fine for a parade. So it's unfortunate you'll have to wait for next year for the Christopher Columbus Day Parade. 5:53 out to New Jersey, where police are investigating after a woman says she walked out of a bar to find sexually explicit notes and Polaroids on her windshield. This is just a weird story out of Randolph. She and her cousin left the Black River Barn restaurant in Randolph, and she said that she was in shock because the note described the outfits that her and her cousin were wearing.
We actually thought it was a ticket. When we saw the note, we were pretty grossed out. It was a shock, and more so because it described our outfits. We actually looked around, right? Like, are they watching us right now?
Yeah, I don't blame her. The woman reported the incident to police in Randolph, who confirmed they are investigating the incident. Since sharing her story, she did so online first. She says 3 more women have come forward saying the exact same thing happened to them.
Yeah, it was sick. It's damaging. It's violating. It shakes you.
Yeah, and it's just weird. Authorities say they're looking into whether possible similar incidents took place in nearby towns and whether they're all connected. Meanwhile, the managers at this bar, the Black River Barn, which is popular in Randolph, say that they've done some safety upgrades in the aftermath. They've added extra staff. There's more cameras in the parking lot, all to make people feel a little more comfortable coming.
We have extra staff, but now we're going to take some of that staff and delegate it to the parking lot specifically to make sure that there's no creeps out there doing things of that nature.
Yeah, creep is the right word. 5:55. Alec Baldwin crashed his car into a tree while driving in East Hampton yesterday. The front of his SUV is dented, but Baldwin says he's okay. He actually took to Instagram when the story got out to describe, he says, what took place.
I cut me off in a truck, big garbage truck. I mean, a garbage truck the size of a whale. To avoid hitting him, I hit a tree. I hit a big fat tree and crushed my car, my wife's car. I crushed my wife's car. I feel bad.
He says he feels the worst that he crushed his wife's car. He says he's okay. Everybody else, his brother Stephen was in the car with him as well. He says his brother Stephen is doing just fine as well. 5:55. New York's master of great deli food is going to get a special honor.
The late Saul Zabar has his own New York City subway poster. It will be hung inside the 79th Street subway station. MTA Chair Jan O'Lieber says it's just steps away from the iconic Lox and Bagel Emporium, founded by Zabar's parents in 1934, and he can certainly appreciate a good babka.
Zabar's was a godsend because we made a lot of money on the 104 bus and on the number 1 train we wouldn't have made because everybody all over the world wanted to come to Zabar's. May his memory be a blessing.
Saul, who died at 97 earlier this week, was the face of the culinary landmark for more than half a century. I'm Lisa Ritchie, 77 WABC News.
And we'll finish with this Rockland County couple flying high after scoring a deal with 2 of the sharks from that ABC hit show Shark Tank. Lloyd and Sue Ecker have been working on a special pillow that allows for people sleeping while sitting upright, so it minimizes snoring while you're sleeping. And they came up with this idea because Lloyd bothered Sue every night because he snored so loudly. So they were able to make a deal with Lori Greiner. Is it Greiner, whatever. Lori on the show. And Michael Strahan, the football star, the ABC star. They were offered up $100,000 for 25% of the company.
When they both got in it, and they liked
said it was comfortable.
They loved it. I mean, that was the moment of truth.
Just on this one, it's easy.
The reason we wanted them was because we had no knowledge of that, and that's how we want to explode.
And they can reach people we can't reach. Although we are doing amazing since the first week, since it aired. The sales are going off the roof, but we want to maintain that.
Yeah, anytime you're on the Shark Tank, of course, sales goes up. It's called the Snorinator, by the way, so congratulations to that Rockland couple. 5:57, traffic transit on the 7s. Here's Jill Nolan.
Snorinator, I should order one of those. Absolutely.
Well, your wife is probably ordering one right now.
She probably already has, yeah.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
The following is a paid political announcement.
Lifelong Democrat Diana Florence served for 25 years as a Manhattan prosecutor under DA Robert Morgenthau. She put criminals away, stood up for victims, and protected our streets. Now, Diana is challenging failed Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg as an independent because it's time for a DA who fights for our families, not criminals. That's why Diana has won the support of organized labor, like the steam fitters, plumbers, and ironworkers, everyday New Yorkers who want a DA they can trust. Manhattan needs a DA who will do the job, prosecute crime. That's Diana Florence. Under Alvin Bragg, crime is up and prosecutions are down. Bragg doesn't prosecute crime. He plays partisan politics. Bragg failed to protect women and failed to protect workers. As a prosecutor, Diana Florence won groundbreaking convictions, fighting against corruption, domestic violence, wage theft, and daily working conditions. She's always been a partner of unions, community groups, and to cops like us. For Manhattan District Attorney, vote for Diana Florence. Diana4DA.com. Paid for by Diana for Manhattan DA.